So, why are so many people, so many Christians, deconverting from Christianity? I've Googled it. I've looked around at different statistics. I've looked at different research, all the different results. And, it really kind of lines up with the whole reason that I left Christianity. There was disillusionment, there was clear discrepancies, hypocrisy, contradictions, things that I was told to believe to be true, that science later proved that it was false. And again, now, Timmy Gibson, former evangelical fundamental tongue talking pastor. So I come from an extremely conservative evangelical background. I realize that not every Christian is where I was. And I even got amongst the charismatics. And I'll talk about some of that. I think the charismatic movement is a complete cult sham. It's nuts, absolutely freaking nuts. The health and wealth gospel. Jesus wants you rich. Jesus wants you healthy. You know, sickness and disease comes from the devil, or some kind of sin in your life. Okay, that's all BS, and I'll do a video about that. But I've really been reflecting on why are, and I just did a video about this. So this is just almost quasi part two, kind of a follow up rather to the video that I just did, the last video that I uploaded. I upload every Sunday and Wednesday. And then if I feel like it, I might do an extra one here and there. And I'm planning on doing some live broadcasts and all that stuff in the future. But I'm new to all this. And so we're taking baby steps. We're learning to crawl before we walk. So for me, the research really did line up with where I was after spending nearly 48, 47 years of my life, having given my heart to Jesus back when I was 6 and 7, and being a Christian, a devoted follower of Jesus, until I turned about 49 to 50, right in that range there. Now, I always had doubts. I always had questions. I always thought, man, that doesn't seem right. Like something about that seems off, or wow, that, this thing that I believe, it doesn't seem to be producing any kind of fruit in my life. Like this isn't true as I have been told, right? And so the disillusionment begins to creep in when you realize, wait, what are the good things about church or religion? And can you have the good things without religion? Like, can you have some of the good aspects of faith or of religion without having to believe all the baloney? And I would say yes. Like, yes. I think some of the key factors in a community is just that. It's a community. It's where your friends are. Oftentimes it's where your family is. That's where you have connections. And for some people, it's their, that connectivity and that networking is a part of their business. And, in fact, I know a lot of atheists and or agnostics, or very nominally at all believers, who go to church for the social aspect of it. They don't believe in the virgin birth. They don't believe in the resurrection. They don't believe that Jesus was God. They don't believe in the rapture. They don't believe in any of that stuff. Yet they attend church. Why is that? Well, I think it's because some of the value of community and networking and friends and those things, I think that some people find real comfort in, ritual and congregating, once a week. Hence why I think one reason why I'm doing a Sunday, every Sunday video, and I'm doing a Wednesday video, And that kind of goes in the same rhythm of what and how I lived as a Christian, as a Christian and as a pastor. I was that was my life. Every Sunday you go to church. After church you go to lunch with some people from the church, and then depending, you might have a Sunday Bible study or something else going on, some kind of activity around the community of faith. And then you come back for the a midweek dose, a little bit of a midweek injection of Jesus, to carry you through, till come Sunday back around again. And so I really believe the reason that we are, and by the way, I saw some comments. People are like, what statistics are you reading here? I posted a link to the statistics. I'm not making this stuff up. I actually researched, is the evangelical church on the decline? And it is in America. It is in America. And especially when you get into that right-wing fundamental, that literalist, with the end times and the rapture, and like that group is on the decline, especially for those under 40. Under 40, it is, matter of fact, the average age of those in the evangelical church is like my age and older. It's like 55 to 60 is like the average age of someone in the evangelical church. Why? Well, younger people are finding community. Some of the things that you would get from a church community, they're finding that in everyday life without all the BS, ridiculous fallacies and the myths that you would be required to at least say that you believe in order to be a part of that faith community. So, when I'm talking to people, I just had a session with someone that's going through their own deconstruction, and they were just curious of how did my reconstruction go. And that's a key factor in this whole process. I thankfully had a really good community of friends that I could turn into and talk to and have these kind of conversations, because you want to be in a friend group where you can be authentically you. And I've heard that time and time again. I have pastor friends right now who are pastoring right now, and they're non-believers. They don't believe, but they have to continue pastoring because it's their livelihood. It's what they do for a living. Now, some might think that that's bad, that they're staying in there. Well, they're trying to figure out how to get out, but they don't know. This is what they've done for so long. It's hard to get out. That's why the Clergy Project is such a great resource for those of us like myself who my livelihood was God, studying the Bible, teaching the Bible. Like that was my life. And so, I always giggle when people say, Timmy really wasn't a Christian, which is, I think I made a comment to someone that said that I said, you're not really a Christian. Because that's all it is. It's like they're just saying something. He wasn't really a Christian. I find that to be one of the most ridiculous, ignorant, moronic statements I've ever heard as it relates to those who have walked away from faith. That to those that have walked away from faith, people just say, well, they never really were saved. They never really knew the Christ of the Bible. They really never had a real relationship with God, because in their mind, they think that if you did, you would never leave it. And I used to say the same thing. I used to say that to people. And I thought that I would never, ever walk away from faith. I just never thought I would. So, I don't, people ask me if it upsets me, some of the comments. No, it doesn't. I mean, it's just ignorance. People just letting ignorance get to them. They're letting their fear get to them. They're letting, all the tapes and the things that I used to say to people and what I used to say about other people who walked away from faith. They're just spouting off the same BS that they were told to believe that, how could anyone walk away from a genuine, real relationship with God? How? Well, because they never really had an authentic, genuine relationship with God. And that's just moronic. It really is absolutely just an ignorant statement. And it's something that those of us who have deconstructed, we roll our eyes and shake our heads at that statement, because it's just absolutely an ignorant statement. But anyway, back to why are people leaving? Well, one, that we don't want to be so judgmental anymore. We find that we're always gossiping and judging others. Now, not all Christians. So for those of you that are Christian and you don't do that, kudos to you. But I know that it kind of comes with the package. It's just part of it. I'd be honest, I felt better than other people. I felt better than non-believers. I had the truth, and I was going to heaven, and I was working for God Almighty, and I was better than other people. And it's a humbling experience to realize that, nope, I'm just a human, just like everybody else. And, I think everybody is special in the way of, we're special humans, and we're lucky to be here on planet Earth. And we should do all that we can to have the best life ever, to be kind and charitable and good towards other people and all that stuff. So I think that people are leaving faith because they're recognizing the BS. I mean, come on. Like, just look at the news. Look at just this week, I heard of 2 ministers that I knew of growing up. Robert Norris was one, and Robbie Zachariah. And even there was one other one from down in Texas that I used to listen to all the time, and he just stepped down. And he was one of the most famous, and I wish I could think of his name right now, but one of the most famous radio preachers that I grew up listening to all the time. I grew up listening to this guy all the time, and I just loved him. I wish I could think of his name, but I just saw that he stepped down for some immoral something. And so the immorality doesn't automatically mean that there is no God and it's all not true. It doesn't mean that, but it does tell you something. Did you know I looked up the divorce rates? Do you know that the divorce rates are the same for Christians as it is for non-Christians? The divorce rate is the same. There is no difference. That's because people are people, and God isn't making anyone better. He's not healing anyone. He's not setting anyone free. It's like anything else. People say, well, I had a friend of mine, actually, I just had a conversation with a friend of mine. And he said, man, I'm a believer. And he goes, Jesus set me free from drug addiction. And I said, man, that's awesome. Like, that's awesome. Period. That's all I said. That's awesome. But I also have a Buddhist friend, and he also was set free by the teachings of Buddha. And I'm sure you all know people too have been set free or delivered by just natural whatever. Just, you know what I mean? Like, there's no correlation between faith and a better life. It just isn't. And I know personally, my life is actually better as a non-believer. I'm more #blessed. I'm happier. I'm more fulfilled. I have more purpose and meaning in my life. Yes, there was a definite shaking up of my life for sure. Like, it was kind of like remodeling a house. It gets worse before it gets better. It gets ugly before it gets prettier. And that was true for me. It was difficult going from pastoring a church and the journey I took, and then to now not be doing that at all, and have walked away from faith altogether. and calling myself an agnostic. That, I said that in less than 30 seconds, but that was a 6-year process. And I'm just now able to really talk about it and to formulate my thoughts and share bits and pieces of my story. But the disenchantment is just huge, in especially in the evangelical circles. People say in the evangelical circles, prayer works. No, it doesn't. No, it absolutely doesn't. There's been research on prayer, how prayer affects things, how prayer affects sick people. It doesn't make any difference. I think I heard a comedian say, I've realized that praying to Joe Pesci, I get the same results as I get when I prayed to God. And that makes me giggle because it's just true. I only refer to myself because I can't refer to you. I don't know you. I don't know your story. I can only tell my story. This is my YouTube channel. So that's what I talk about, is my journey, the story, what I went through and how it went, all that. That's just all I'm doing, is sharing my experience. And my experience is that I still have the same rate of good things to bad things happen in my life as I did when I was a Christian. And I was always praying for the good things. It's like a coin toss, because it is just random, right? You pray for that promotion and you get it. And you pray for that promotion and you don't get it. Well, and what we used to always say is, well, there must be a reason. God's ways are above our ways. Who can understand the mysteries of God? Which is just it's like being a politician. You just squealing out of things, saying silly, stupid stuff. And it's just ridiculous. It's just absolutely bonkers. It's insane. It's just, now, I do believe that it's important to think the right thoughts. And if you want to raise, do a good job, show up early, stay late, go the extra mile. I believe how you get raises in life is not by tithing and praying. It's by doing a good job. That's how you're going to get a raise. If you want to be financially prosperous, well, then read books on being financially prosperous. Invest, take risks, do the things that require financial blessing. It's not about just praying about it and about tithing. That's the part that's the farce. It's just a farce. When you give to the church, which again, if you're a part of a community and you're going to church and you're tithing, hey, listen, I really don't have a problem with that. If you're getting value from that community, giving something to that community helps make it possible. I get it. I'm not going to say anything about that. I was a pastor. We required, we didn't require, that's not true. It was needed. We had to have the resources coming in order to have Sunday church, to rent the building, to have sound equipment, to have, all the stuff that we had. You had to have money. So I really don't fault churches for collecting some kind of giving or tithes or offerings or whatever you want to call it in order to keep the community running. Again, it's all mythical. It's not true, but I get that concept, right? What makes the world go round? Money. We all need money, right? You can't go without money. And would you go to work and for free? No, you wouldn't. I wouldn't either. None of us would. We can't. That's not how the world works. And so I think what people began to see, or like myself, is that, listen, I don't have a better life because I'm going to church. I'm not richer because I'm going to church. I'm not having better luck since I'm going to church. And I say going to church, meaning I'm believing in God, I'm reading the Bible, I'm tithing and I'm praying, I'm doing all these things. Glory, hallelujah, like all that stuff. It's, well, again, fine. Like, if you enjoy it and it's good for you, great. Doesn't make it true, okay? But I'm telling you, the reason that people are walking away is disillusionment. they're being told to believe one thing, but then life is showing them the contrary. And that now I'm sure there's specifics of why people are leaving faith, but when I read the article about why people are leaving the church, why people are leaving organized religion, that was the sum of it. It's that people were disillusioned. They're being told that one thing is true, but then in life they're seeing that it's not true and that it's not reality. And much of those things, it's like a placebo. And I'm sure you know what the placebo effect is. In a controlled kind of research, they'll give one person an Advil, give another person a sugar pill. The sugar pill takes away the headache. How is that possible? Well, because the person believed the sugar pill was an Advil. Now, I want you to think about something. Did the belief then make it true? No, it was still a sugar pill. The belief in the sugar pill being Advil didn't actually turn the sugar pill into Advil. But there is power in the brain. There is, this is something that we can't explain, right? Science can't even fully explain it. But there is that's something quite extraordinary, that if you believe something to be true, that there can be some benefits to that belief. For example, the believing that the sugar pill will take your headache away, and then it takes your headache away. That wasn't the sugar pill, it was the mind. So I really believe that's a lot of what goes on in Christianity. It's a sugar pill, and people are believing in something it's not true. Just like the sugar pill it's not a painkiller, right? It's not real. It's a man-made myth. But that's why some people can benefit and see some kind of benefit from it, because they believe in it. I recently heard that, is it AA or AAA? AA, I think it's AA. Do you know their percent of success? I did not know this. It's like 5% or less, their success rate. And yet people swear by it. And it's so popular. But really, it doesn't really work, except for those that it works for. And those are the ones that will tell you it absolutely works. But how is it that 100 people can go to AA and only 5 people are helped, and 95 people aren't helped? Yet everybody seems to think, I was shocked, everybody seems to think it works. If you'd have just asked me before I read this, if you'd have asked me, what do you think the success rate of AA is? I'd be like, oh, I don't know. Maybe 50, 60%. I don't know. I would have voted or said really high. Well, come to find out, less than 5%. That shocked me. But it's the same with religion. People say, no, absolutely, prayer does work. I can tell you an occasion that. And it's like they'll pray 10 times, 9 times, they don't get what they ask for. The one time that they do, that's the story they tell on Sunday night, testimony night. Right? Someone grabs the microphone, they're like, I just want to tell my story. I just want to tell you how Jesus set me free from. And it's like, it's like nine other times they didn't get what they wanted, but that one time that it worked, they give all the glory to God. I find that it's just moronic. I can't even wrap my mind around it. And I used to believe it. I used to do the same thing. I would only focus on the few times that prayer did seem to work, and those were the stories I told. I never told the stories where I prayed for something and it didn't happen. So, Why are so many people, why are people leaving Christianity? Especially those 40 and under, really 30 and under primarily. Just a huge, it's like a faith of the older. It's a faith of the elder. And I I I think it just comes down to disillusionment. You know, what I thought to be true, I'm finding out in life it's not really true. Cuss and discuss down below. Make comments, like, subscribe, do all the stuff. Peace.